Hello, Dr. Joe here, and I want to thank you for giving me the time that I will need to give you an overview of what failure free is like, how it was established, why I created what I did. So I'm excited, looking forward to working with you, and I think we're going to have a great time. My methodology is based on the notion that pronounced reading failure can be treated by systematically controlling for the instructional variables within the learner's environment that prevent them from succeeding. I absolutely, positively, firmly believe that the enemy is not the parent, is not the teacher, administrator, or student. The real enemy is the instructional approach as it pertains to the unique needs of this population. Change the approach and you will change performance. I created a methodology that contained all the good practices we knew would work for special needs students with pronounced reading difficulties. I took critical vocabulary essential for reading success, such as the most common words, and critical life skill vocabulary centering on four themes: getting an apartment, getting a driver's license, getting the facts on drugs, and getting a job. I wrote the stories so that students with reading abilities as low as zero point 0 and cognitive IQs of 40 to 45 and higher could finally get the chance to read with fluency and comprehension. I then infused these words into stories using the most meaningful grammar and content for this population. All the sentences in my beginning stories are written in a simple, positive, active, declarative structure, the simplest structure to understand. Quite frankly, the control for grammatical complexities is one of the key and unique features of failure-free reading. No other program controls for this variable. I then greatly reduced the student's exposure in the story to multiple meaning words, figurative speech, idiomatic expressions, pronouns, and uncommon names, dates, and places. I removed these content roadblocks. I built and expanded each sentence into a three-sentence paragraph. I did this for each sentences and paragraphs are interrelated and build into a 10 to 20 paragraph story based on a critical life skill theme. I created a teacher-led instructional sequence that, when followed, virtually assures that your students will respond accurately and, more importantly, failure-free. In the methodology, I help you to set the stage for what the story is about, introduce critical vocabulary and phrases at a level that builds on their current base of understanding. I then ask you to demonstrate what good reading sounds like by having you read the lessons paragraphs aloud to your students with expression. I then ask you to follow this procedure with a series of metacognitive questioning techniques, from factual questions to those promoting higher order thinking skills. All this is done before the students are ever asked to read aloud or by themselves. You are setting the stage that by the time they do open their mouth, you are going to be 99% sure that they will respond without failure. This is the failure-free environment. The instructional readers mark the end of the teacher-led first stage of implementation. The students are not expected to get everything correct at this moment in time. This is just the first stage. The next stage is further reinforcement of the activities. That's when they proceed to the talking software. Content in the software is identical to what was presented during the teacher led instructional stage. It is designed to further reinforce the lesson material. The material is presented on the screen by words, sentences, talking stories, as well as abundant reinforcement activities measuring comprehension, alphabetical order, vocabulary growth, and spelling, and much more. Because everything talks, there is no reading prerequisite, thus allowing your students to read at higher levels from age appropriate content and screen. This is the beauty. They don't have to know how to read in order to learn how to read. There are no dancing bears or bunny rabbits on our screens. Nothing smacks of elementary appearance or content regardless of their prior reading ability. Dignity, pride, and self-respect are cornerstones to our program. The software records every click your student makes and presents this information in extremely understandable reports. You can measure growth by the day, story, semester, or year. The reports are excellent for portfolio documentation. The final stage of instruction involves the utilization of paper and pencil reinforcement activities. There are 8 different worksheet formats for each lesson, from fill in the blank to short answer, word search, word and sentence illustration, alphabetical order, and matching. The content is also identical to the content taught throughout the lesson. The format and the worksheets never vary. This is the routine. This is the structure that our students crave. They cannot deal with changes in routine, as you well know. Finally, the next day's lesson always starts with a review of the content presented in the previous lesson. The exact 3-stage instructional procedure is followed for each new lesson. Nothing changes. As I mentioned in the start and throughout, everything builds. It scaffolds from one lesson to another to another. So the instructional procedure will build until they have mastered at least 10 to 20 paragraph stories. Okay, now that you have an overview of the philosophy, how failure-free material was created, we're going to apply it to a specific program that I created called Life Skills. And Life Skills is a school-to-work transition language literacy program for students reading as low as zero point 0 and having IQs as low as 40-45. So let's get started. Life Skills is designed to present 4 themes: independent living, driver's license, drug prevention, employment skills. Every theme has between 5 to 6 stories in it. Every story is between 10 to 20 paragraphs. Your goal is to get them to the point where they can read each of these stories fluently with comprehension from the theme that they have been diagnosed as being most appropriate in. Every failure-free reading program is designed to employ a multimodal instruction. We're based on the notion of MEMC, multiple exposures in multiple contexts. The research is absolutely clear. Our kids need to have pronounced repetition, pronounced practice, and as the IQ drops, that number increases proportionally. And that's one of the problems with traditional programs. There simply is not the abundant repetition and practice that our kids need in order to be successful. So it's multimodal instruction. They see it, they hear it, they say it, they do it. For my deaf people, they sign it as opposed to hearing it. A great start. As I mentioned before, life skills consist of 4 interrelated levels. Each level is a standalone in and of itself. Each level contains 5 to 6 stories about a key theme important to their world and for school to career transition: independent living, getting a driver's license, getting the facts on drugs, and how to get a job. You get an abundance of materials in each level. You get teacher manuals, criterion reference tests, independent activities, flashcards, worksheets. You get more than enough material that you'll need in order to teach this with mastery to instill dignity, pride, self respect, and confidence. So let's get started. Here's the format that we're going to use. We're going to teach you how to log in. I'm going to teach you how to diagnose, how to prescribe, how to instruct, how to assess, and how to report. We'll do it quickly because it's relatively easy to use. When you're done, you'll be able to enroll a student, give him the diagnostic, and then get started immediately in the most important part of the program, which is the teaching. So let's get started. We will send you your username and a password. This will allow you to log in. Logging in occurs when you type in www.failurefreeonline.com. Failurefreeonline.com is all one word. Then you'll see the screen that is here, and up in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a login where you put in your login, which is usually your email address, and then your password. Generally, we default to the word password, and later you can change it to anything you would like. Very easy, very simple. Once you log in, the screen will change, and you'll see the teacher tools bar. This is very, very exciting, very easy to use. It's simple click. The class view just gives you an overview of the number of students that you're currently serving at this moment in time, what their placement is, and how to get more information pertaining to them by clicking on the radial button that's next to their name. Enrolling a student, click on that. We'll talk about that in a moment. Build reports, abundant reporting features. Again, once you click on it, you'll go to a screen that will allow you to use that. Active, interactive. Sometimes you're going to be moving students once you get larger numbers of students from active to inactive, and it's very, very simple. The electronic library allows you to have all of the print material, access to all of the print material that we send in hard copy. You'll have immediate access to that in electronic format, and all you have to do is download it or print it. Real simple. You can also set student logins so that they come in through a kiosk. The help buttons will give you videos, tutorials that will pick up and share in greater detail what I'm sharing with you now. There are certificates that you can print out for your students and general question and answer sessions. So bottom line, easy to use, very, very interactive, very easy in appearance, and easy for you to work with. Once you log in, you'll go to your Teacher Tools box, and you'll click on Enroll Student. The screen will then change. Very straightforward. You type in their name, first name, last name, any identifying information that you feel is necessary. You'll also then go to, do you want to diagnose the student now? Right now, that is in a default mode in which it will say, no, I'll do this later. That will allow you to put in more than one student at a particular time. In addition to that, down at the end, you'll see that every student gets their own password, their own entry code. Now, there is a printout for you, so you don't have to worry about memorizing this, but this allows students who are off-site to log in if they want to, or also to establish a kiosk for logging in as well. Pretty straightforward, easy to use. Type in, put them in, it's over. The diagnosis component is pretty straightforward. Your student will be asked to read a series of passages of increasing complexity. It's a modified closed component where they select the word that best fits in the passage. It will continue until we determine your student's current academic English frustration level. There are 11 entry points in the program starting from beginning first grade all the way up to SAT, ACT. Once we determine that level, I will show you how to make a transition from the traditional diagnosis to the life skills component. One final point. The diagnosis is not the methodology. Many of your students are going to be scared, they're embarrassed, they're always failing. So let them know that this is just the beginning part of the program, that this material goes all the way up through college level material, that it's okay to make a mistake, that we don't expect it to be perfect, and that once we get this out of the way, we'll get to the exciting part, which is the teaching component. Upon completion of the diagnostic, you will go back to your Teacher Tools section and click on Build Reports. Build Reports will then take you to a screen that shows you the abundant reports that are available to you. The one that's most important to you right now is the one that I'm showing, which is the Student Diagnostic Prescriptive Report. When you click on that, that will tell you where your student has ended up in terms of their academic English reading frustration level. You can do this for single student, or you can also do it for all of your students. You will select that at the report stage of the process. The diagnostic prescriptive screen looks like this, and you can see that tall column on the right side. Red stands for beginning first grade, green stands for second half of first grade, beginning second. Orange A is solid second, orange B is third grade, teal A, B, and C is beginning fourth, middle fourth, solid fifth, and then you have the Verbal Master material, which is 6th grade, 8th grade, 10th grade, SAT. So this, when you see it, will give you an example of where the current academic English reading vocabulary frustration level is for your students. Life skills is designed to correlate with the first four colors that you see on the bar. Red is for beginning first grade or virtual non-readers. Students that test at green are at basically high first grade, low second. Orange A is solid second. Orange B is solid third. And teal is fourth, fifth. What that means is students that, if you have students who are testing at red, they're virtual non-readers, and they'll go into the independent living skills, the apartment series. Green will put in the driver's license. Actually, green and orange A will go driver's license. Orange B will be getting the facts on drugs, and then any student that's testing in teal will be able to go into the how to get a job series. So that is the way that this is designed. Very simple to use. You'll know what their ceiling is, and then we'll put them in the appropriate theme that coincides with life skills. So now that you know where to place them and at what level to begin with, it's time to instruct. And there are three interrelated instructional components, what I call the 3 T's of success: teaching, technology, and text. It's a blended learning component where you're going to utilize on-site instruction, online technology, paper and pencil reinforcement activities. You'll utilize a 3-stage instructional procedure. There's the teacher-led language literacy station, the computer-led talking software station, and then the paper and pencil reinforcement activities. Each component is designed to last approximately 15 to 60 minutes, so it fits in very, very comfortably with an instructional block of between 45 to 60 minutes. If you're in a 90-minute instructional block, then you can move on to the next part of a new lesson. So you can work very comfortably within any of those time frames. The instructional component always begins with the teacher-led language literacy component. From this moment on, you are a language teacher first, you are a reading teacher second, you are a content teacher third, and you cannot change the order. Your kids cannot read for meaning above their language level of comprehension, and they cannot read for meaning something they cannot relate to. So your job, through the guided instruction, is to set the stage that allows them to expand their background knowledge to be able to relate to the material in a fashion that makes meaning to them. So you're the facilitator, you're the guide through this process. It's exciting, you're going to do well. Everything you need to say is there, so enjoy it. Everything that you will need in order to fulfill the teaching-led language literacy component in the first stage is available in your electronic library. The electronic library is accessible through the Teacher Tools bar. So once you log in, go to your Teacher Tools bar and click on Electronic Library. The electronic library is broken into the 4 themes, and every story then is available to you in each of those themes. So for example, if you look at the blue theme, you'll see it is the independent living, it's the apartment complex separated by story. Getting an apartment is the first story. CRT stands for Criterion Reference Paper and Pencil Test that you have for the student. Criterion Reference Test is your directions as a teacher. Then you can print the teacher manual. You have independent activities. You have instructional readers that we've already discussed. You have flashcards. You do not, however, at this moment in time, have access to the illustrated reader. We will have to discuss that at a later time. So once you've determined what story to teach, it's time to teach. Now remember, the methodology is designed to be failure-free. The way that you set this up will be fully available to you in the teacher manual. So you can download the teacher manual or you can print it a lesson at a time. The instructional procedure consists of previewing the material. There is a listening component. There is a teacher-led presentation. There is an oral reading, and then there is a review. Pretty straightforward. Preview, listen, present, read, review. The teacher instruction consists of 3 parts: previewing, listening, and presenting. In previewing, you're setting the stage. You are the language teacher first. You're letting them know what it is we're about to read, building on their base. You're turning everything into a language lesson and a background knowledge expansion lesson. The previewing component of the teacher instruction is pretty straightforward. It's readily available in the manual. As soon as you download that, you'll see previewing. Everything that is in lowercase, in quotes, is what you're being asked to explain or say to your student. Anything that's in uppercase is directions and instructions specifically to you, the teacher. Again, very, very easy, very straightforward. For example, in Getting an Apartment, Lesson 1. Today we're going to read a story about a person who's going to get an apartment. Let's listen as this person describes where he or she is going to move from and why. New words of particular interest. You're going to be introduced to many words in this story. You might know some. If you do, that's great. If you don't worry. You'll be able to read this anyway. Trust me, you're going to do well. Just relax. Let's go over a few of the words. Don't be afraid to tell me what some of the words mean. If you don't know that, I'm here to help. Remember, it's impossible to read something you don't understand, so please ask me to explain any word you're not sure of. Are you ready? Let's begin. What does the word, and then it has apartment, and you ask them to give a meaningful definition of the word apartment or job or community. Remember, you want them to define each word. Help them with any words they don't understand, and always give examples that are concrete and can be directly related to their own experience. The next part of the teacher instruction is the listening component. This is where you are going to model what it sounds like or demonstrate what it looks like for my deaf clients to read with meaning and with expression. After that, there will be a teacher questioning component, but the first step is enthusiasm and reading it aloud. Everything you need for the listening component is found in the teacher manual. Please listen as I read the first part of the story aloud. I am going to move. I'm going to move from my parents' house. I'm going to move from my parents' house and get an apartment. I have a new job. I have a new job in a new community. I have a new job in a new community in the city. Once they've heard you read this aloud, then it's time to ask questions. What we're doing again is making sure that they understand. Remember this, always look at their eyes. The eyes are the mirror of their mind. If they don't understand it, then you have to ask yourself, what is it that's preventing them from understanding? But the questioning part is broken into two parts, factual and inferential. Factual is pretty straightforward. Where is the person's new job? From where is the person going to move? The teacher instruction consists of three parts, previewing, listening, and presenting. In previewing, you're setting the stage. You are the language teacher first. You're letting them know what it is we're about to read, building on their base. You're turning everything into a language lesson and a background knowledge expansion lesson. The last part of the teacher instruction is the presenting. That's where the student will be actively involved with you under your guidance. There'll be an oral reading component, and then they'll also be asked to use the instructional reader. Again, remember, you're not expecting them to master anything at this moment in time. This is still the previewing, this is still the introduction, this is the setting up of the stage for a failure-free environment. So relax, just let them listen to you and work with you in a very relaxed manner. This is the part of the methodology where they actually start to interact with you. So we would start by saying, let's go over what we know about the story. I'm going to read part of the sentence, and then I'll leave a key word out, and you tell me what word you think best fits. Remember, it must make sense. We never read something that does not make sense. So listen as I read. I am going to, what word makes sense there? Who can tell me what word that makes sense that we can put in there? Move? Let's see if move makes sense. I am going to move. That's terrific. I am going to move. I'm going to move from my parents' house. That's right. I'm going to move from my parents' house. I'm going to move from my parents' house and get an apartment. That's right. Fantastic. I have a new job. That's wonderful. I have a new job in a new community. That's terrific. I have a new job in a new community in the city. Wow, that was fantastic. You were terrific. And that's what we're doing. We're setting the stage. We're building their confidence. We're helping them when they need help. We're setting a failure-free environment, changing attitude, conceive, believe, achieve. And now it's time for them to read the story. Now it's time for them to see the story, the text in front of them. So you would say to them, and now it's time for you to read the story. The story is identical to what we've talked about. If you want me to read the sentences first, I will. If you don't remember a word, I'll tell it to you. Don't be nervous. Reading's nothing more than thinking about what the story is about and then trying to guess or anticipate what you think is going to come next. Remember, the key is having to make the material make sense. Stop reading if it doesn't make sense. Ask me to help you. Are you ready? Watch as I read the first sentence aloud. Wow. Are you ready to do it alone, or would you like me to read it again? Great. Let's hear you read the sentence. That was fantastic. Are you ready for the next sentence? Now it's your turn to read. And now we go on to the second stage of the three-stage implementation, the talking software. You will need headphones, there's no doubt about that. But this is the point where now they're going to hear on the screen and see on the screen identically everything that you've already discussed with them. So this is further reinforcement, age appropriate, about themes that are important to them. You'll have pre and post tests for every story you give, a talking book instruction for every lesson. There'll be word recognition activities for every lesson, reinforcement activities. There's a spelling program that's available to you, a vocabulary builder, and then snapshot reports, daily reports, everything you need in order to show growth. Enjoy. I thought you might like to see how the software is arranged. So this is a screen that gives you an overview of how the software is actually created. You have your life skills, different levels, blue, purple, maroon, and yellow. Then in this case, because blue is selected, you'll see all of the stories that are under blue: getting an apartment, rooms to an apartment, breakfast story, time for lunch, dinner with a friend. And then every story starts with a pretest. Then it goes into a lesson. The lesson format never changes, which is in the last column: the talking book, the word recognition, the reinforcement activities. When they're done with all the lessons, then they have access to a spelling program if you want to use it, a vocabulary builder, and more importantly, a story post test so that you can measure growth. Then the last part are the print or the reinforcement activities. There are 8 different worksheets. Everything that they have learned in the 2 stages is identical to what they're going to learn in the 3rd stage. So it's tactile kinesthetic, fill in the blank, word illustration, sentence illustration, word search, alphabetical order, short answer. It's really kind of exciting. So when they finish stage 1, they go to stage 2, which then is ended up in the paper and pencil reinforcement activities. Please do me a favor. Remember, this is to build their confidence. If they make mistakes, help them. The last thing they need is for them to see an F or a D on a worksheet. They need to see A's. They need to see hundreds. These are all designed to change attitude. Little train theory. If you think you can't think you can, you can, you can, you can. We are first and foremost an attitude adjustment program. You are going to change their thought about how they feel about reading. It's exciting. I'm excited for you. And finally, when they're all done, they're given an illustrated booklet. Now, the illustrated booklets are not in the electronic library. They come in the print component, but we'll make arrangements to help you get a booklet if you need that, so don't panic. But this is their chance now to read stories that are age appropriate, many for the first time in their lives, about themes that are very, very important for them and for their future success. You've done a great job. I'm excited about what you're doing. I'm excited about what you can do with this material, with this approach. Please call me, 1-800-542-2170 if you're having any questions, or joe.lokovich@failurefree.com. Together we're going to change the life and have significant impact. I hope you have enjoyed this brief overview. Now, in summary, Failure Free works so well because it is the first reading intervention to remove contextual roadblocks, is highly structured, has a consistent 3-stage instructional routine, utilizes a multisensory approach. It's based on the concept of MEMC, multiple exposures in multiple contexts. Provides abundant repetition, the practice that our kids need in order to be successful. Frankly, traditional programs just do not provide the abundant amount of practice that our kids need. And it's age appropriate in content and appearance. No dancing bears, no bunny rabbits. Dignity, pride, self-respect is kept intact on the part of the student. In addition, failure-free reading provides immediate gratification. Our kids can't wait 6 weeks, 6 months, even sometimes 6 hours. They need to see success now. It gives a big picture of the overall reading process. This is especially true for kids that get stuck at skills. They learn the skills, but they don't know where the skills fits into the process, and so they get confused as to why they're doing the skills in the first place. The material scaffolds through a principle known as cognitive chunking. We build one part of the sentence and then extend it in meaningful fashions in cognitive chunks. We build background knowledge. You cannot read what you can't relate to. Every form of your being is to develop, is to build on this base, the background knowledge that they need to know to be successful. We teach critical, high frequency, abstract words in the most meaningful context. Look, anybody can show a picture of the word hospital and say the word is hospital, and that's good. But how do you explain the word there or the word the? That's why context is so important. These high frequency words must be presented in a meaningful contextual fashion. Finally, failure free is designed to work in conjunction with other remedies. We're designed to give an overview, a big picture. If you want to infuse skills within this process, feel free, as long as you follow the methodology, as long as you do the instructional three-stage procedure. If you want to add an additional layer, I'm not stopping you. There's very little teacher prep time. You will get more material than you know what to do with. It's a grab and take, so you don't have to spend hours, even minutes, getting ready to teach. You get detailed reporting features so that you can build that portfolio assessment, that you can document that the students are learning and growing from this approach. And that's why it is so perfect for kids like ours who cannot take standardized measuring instruments but